Summary of To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. James is angry when Ramsay says he can't take him to the lighthouse the next day from his summer house on the Isle of Skye. Tansley agrees with Ramsay. Mrs. Ramsay tries to keep James's hope alive. She thinks about how unattractive Tansley is and then remembers how he told her about his poverty. Lily finds it hard to paint on the lawn. She agrees to go for a walk with Banks, and they talk about the Ramsays. At the same time, Ramsay is arguing with his wife again about the lighthouse, which makes James angry. Ramsay sits by the water and thinks. After going for a walk, Banks admires Mrs. Ramsay, and Lily thinks about how her lively personality makes her beautiful. Lily tells Banks about her painting. In the meantime, Mrs. Ramsay wants Cam and James to stay small. She doesn't think she's negative, as her husband says, she just sees things as they really are. She is worried about the walk that Nancy, Andrew, Paul, and Minta are taking. Mrs. Ramsay watches the lighthouse and thinks after James goes to bed, which makes Ramsay sad. She walks with him and talks to him lovingly. Banks and Lily also walk around and talk about drawing. Then the Ramsays show up. They come across and Mrs. Ramsay, who seem to be symbolic all of a sudden in the dark. Nancy, Minta, Paul, and Andrew have split up on the rocks and then awkwardly got back together when they saw Minta and Paul hugging. They have to wait longer to get back because Minta lost her brooch, which Paul resolves to find in a gentlemanly way. He was able to ask Minta to marry him. Nancy thinks Minta is crying over more than just the brooch. At the summer house, Mrs. Ramsay lets Jasper and Rose help her get dressed. When the walk party comes back, she is pleased. Even though she is sad at the start of dinner, Lily helps her make small talk, and the conversation turns the night into a beautiful order that Mrs. Ramsay thinks lasts forever. Tansley and Banks mess up at the table and then get back on track. Lily is hurt by Paul's lack of interest in her, and she decides not to get married. Mrs. Ramsay reads with Ramsay after dinner and then puts Cam and James to sleep. She then sends Prue, Paul, Minta, Lily, and Andrew for a walk. She is taken away by a poem. Even though and Mrs. Ramsay don't say much after reading, they still show how much they love each other. The nights go by, and then the season. The shocking death of Mrs. Ramsay. The house is never occupied. Prue gets married but dies giving birth, and Andrew is killed in World War I. People know Carmichael. Mrs. McNabb stops taking care of the house in the end, and it starts to fall apart. Then, after 10 years, Mrs. McNabb gets word that the house needs to be ready, which she does very carefully. Lily and Carmichael come back. Cam and James, who are teenagers, are forced to go to the lighthouse with Ramsay on their first morning back. Lily can't stay away from him before they leave. During an awkward talk, Lily feels like Ramsay is begging her to feel sorry for him, and she feels like a bad woman for not giving him her pity. Ramsay leaves with James and Lily, who are angry at Ramsay. She tries to paint but can't because she keeps thinking about Mrs. Ramsay and wonders what life is all about. Cam and James agree not to say anything about their bossy father while they are at sea. Cam doesn't break it, even though she wants to give in to her dad's attempts to get her to date him because she likes him so much. Lily thinks about Paul and Minta's failed marriage and the fact that she is currently single. She wants to show Mrs. Ramsay that she was wrong to follow her gut. Lily starts to cry at Mrs. Ramsay's ghost and how pointless life is. She wants to show Ramsay her concern, so she looks for his ship. While at sea, James thinks about how his father and mother are different. Cam is happy all of the sudden and loves Ramsay. Lily thinks about the Ramsays and how little she knows about other people's lives when she's on land. She thinks that the most important skill is to be able to see the world as both normal and amazing at the same time. James finally gets the praise he wants from Ramsay at sea, but James hides his happiness. As soon as Ramsay gets to the shore, he jumps excitedly towards the lighthouse. On land, Lily and Carmichael both agree that Ramsay has made it to the lighthouse. Lily paints one last line and is happy, even though she knows no one will remember her painting. She's had her vision.
About the author. Virginia Stephen became an important part of London's literary scene at a young age. She was born into a famous literary family. Her grandpa was William Thackeray. She married the author Leonard Woolf, and together they started the Hogarth Press in 1917. This press released all of her later books as well as works by T.S. Eliot and other famous authors of the time. When Woolf tried working with writing, she broke a lot of rules from the Victorian novel pattern and opened up new ways to write novels. Many people still read and think about her books, like Mrs. Dalloway, The Waves, and To the Lighthouse. After her parents and sister died young, Woolf had several mental breakdowns over the course of her life. In 1941, she killed herself in the River Ouse.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.